Hey folks, welcome back. So May the 4th has come and gone, but we're still going to do Star Wars today. So last time we looked at Edge of the Empire from FFG/Edge Studios. This week we're looking at the second game in that line, which is Age of the Rebellion. This is the reprint from Edge, which is exactly the same as the original printing from FFG. Equal in quality to the previous printings, which is good. I think they must have used the same manufacturer, the same printer. You're not gaining or losing anything by buying the new printings, which are pretty widely available, at least the core books. It's the supplements that are the problem at the moment. There are dice available, I found, in the UK, so hopefully that means they're available elsewhere as well. But again, if you don't want to buy loads of funky dice, you can just use any number of online dice rollers and you'll get there. Now, going into this, I'm expecting that you'll have watched the video on Edge of the Empire, which lays out the core system in exhaustive detail, including the funky dice. So I'm just going to show you what's different in this book, and the same with Force and Destiny, although in that one I'll bring back the funky dice to talk about the Force mechanics. If you haven't watched the Edge of the Empire video or the starter sets video, either one of those will give you a basic idea of how the funky dice work. Then you'll be able to jump right in and understand where this game is adding its own special flavor. This game is about the Rebellion era, the main three movies, A New Hope through Return of the Jedi. Now, if you're a old school Star Wars fan like me and you only really acknowledge those movies and maybe Rogue One as actually existing, then this is the game for you. I think there's a sort of weirdly widespread feeling in the Star Wars role-playing game community at the moment that the Rebellion era is like over. It's been done. I don't agree, and I think the show Andor is the simple proof of that. You can go a little bit before or go a little bit off-piste in the main character's track in the Rebellion era and have a whole different story play out and make that bit of the Rebellion your own. It was a difficult time, the Galactic Civil War, and many thousands of different worlds had their own stories. So if you're creative, there's plenty to do in the Galactic Civil War era that has nothing to do with the Han and Chewie, Leia and Luke storyline. You can make your own up, and you can be part of the build-up to the Rebellion like Cassian Andor. But because of that reason, I think this game is a little bit sort of under-recognized in the FFG community, and I want to kind of try and fix that a little bit and encourage you to try this out, because there's some really good and fun mechanics in here to bring alive that Rebellion era. There's really nice careers and archetypes in here. There's different force powers from Edge of the Empire, because we have force powers we see from Luke and Obi-Wan and so forth represented in here. We also have much more iconic capital ships and fighting craft that you see in the films represented as well. Again, if you've got the money and you're a Star Wars fan, go ahead and buy it. But honestly, I think it's worth having the book for the beautiful artwork and for the setting info as well, because it really expands the details of what you see on the surface level of the movies and gives you more to play with as a GM and a player. So without any further ado, let's dive in. So what do they tell us on the back of this monster? Again, 400 pages, big chunky book. Loads to get into in here. Civil War engulfs the galaxy. The Empire rules over thousands of star systems using its military might and the power of fear. Struggle against all odds. Soldiers and spies, mechanics and medics, aces and ambassadors all fight to bring freedom to the galaxy. Join the rebellion and embark on your own adventures in the Star Wars galaxy with the Star Wars Age of Rebellion role-playing game. Dive into the conflict between the Rebel Alliance and the evil Galactic Empire. Face down legion of stormtroopers, steal secret plans and restricted codes, and stay on target in the fight against the ultimate power in the universe. And of course we have similar bullet points here as before. Dynamic dice mechanic, 6 careers, 20 specializations, 8 species. Duty rules to invest player characters in the story, so duty instead of obligation. And we've got Starship combat, customizable equipment, force powers, dangerous adversaries, and much, much more. And you can see here we've got the Disney logo and Lucasfilm and edgestudio.net/Star Wars RPG. So they've done just the updates on the cover here to show you that Edge is now in charge of this IP. Unfortunately, I feel they could be doing a much better job. They said they were going to release more stuff for the Star Wars line, but they've had this IP now for several years, and they haven't even managed to get all the old books in print yet, so don't know what's going on there. But anyway, we have a lovely bit of end paper action here. The deadly Death Star with a squadron of TIEs looming over the surface of a planet with the sunrise casting a beautiful glow. Really a nice picture for the end papers, actually. And one thing you'll find, again, in each book in the line, we have a title page with a sort of helmet design that reflects the era in which the game is taking place and the kind of location of it. In the previous book, we had, a Mandalorian helmet. Here we have a Stormtrooper helmet, because this is about the fighting the Empire. And we got our opening crawl text. Age of Rebellion. It's a time of civil war. The evil Galactic Empire rules over the galaxy, holding thousands of systems in its ever-tightening grip. Striking out from a hidden base, a small band of freedom fighters has dealt a serious blow to the Empire, destroying the dreaded Death Star. Now on the run from Imperial troops, the Rebel Alliance continues its struggle to restore freedom to the galaxy. That's where you come in. Yeah, you can see the book is gigantic, 457 pages to the index there. Pretty much a lot of the basics are the same. So the playing the game chapter is essentially the same as Edge of the Empire. The skills, the talents, however, will be different. There's different aspects of character creation, like the duty aspect, careers and specializations. The combat and conflict stuff is the same. We've got different vehicles and starships in Chapter 7. We've got different force powers in Chapter 8. And we've got some different aspects for the Game Master to consider in Chapter 9. And then the setting information in Chapter 10, we have some additional information on Rebel territory, life and perils in Imperial space, and some other notable locations. We've got history of the rebellion, and then we got different adversaries, and a different opening adventure as well. So there is quite a lot of stuff that's different in here. I got this new copy for something like 36 quid from Dungeonland, and I already owned a copy. It had seen heavy use, and I wanted to get a fresh one, and I found it totally worth the cost. They are quite reasonably priced for the amount of content that you get. And, I just like having the imagery bringing me back to the original trilogy, which I love so much. And you can see throughout, all the art is evoking the Rebellion era, rather than the sort of rough and tumble Outer Rim of Edge of the Empire. And you'll see in Force and Destiny, we get a very different vibe there as well. So in the introduction, we get some in-character fiction. Then we get into, where do I start? What should I do? Which works about the same as Edge of the Empire. Got some AT-AT walkers, AT-ATs, if you like, on Hoth here. Lovely little example of play, although it could be longer. Here they talk about the rule of the Empire, using both the military and Darth Vader to sustain the chokehold on the galaxy. Of course, there's the feared Imperial Security Bureau, the ISB, who we've gotten to know quite deeply during Andor, Season 2 especially. And there's government-sanctioned political groups like the Commission for the Preservation of the New Order, Compnor, which promote imperial ideals and harshly counter rebel propaganda and anti-imperial sentiment. However, dominant though the Empire is, it is hardly monolithic or omnipresent. And the rebels, criminal organizations, corporations, and many more exploit that fact. And then we talk about the Galactic Civil War. So the rebels managed to destroy the Death Star at this point in the timeline, the ultimate weapon as far as the Emperor was concerned. But the Civil War rages on. That was a huge first blow struck by our boy Luke Skywalker himself, and the rebellion is spreading further across the galaxy, but it is still desperate conflict. The Empire is massive. They've got tons of Star Destroyers and military might, and they have, of course, Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, aka one of the greatest Jedis in history. And they point you over towards the beginner game as well. If you're new to RPGs in general, I think that's not bad advice. I'll put a link to that video on the beginner games and my video on Edge of the Empire in the description, so you can be fully up to date on FFG Star Wars content from me so far. I talk more about Rebel advances since the destruction of the Death Star, Rebel leaders like Senator Mon Mothma, Princess Leia Organa, and the goal of taking down the Empire. And then they mention here, well, what about Edge of the Empire? Its core rulebook focuses on the shadier side of life and includes species, careers, and rules central to that theme, but they're completely compatible. That's an important point. You can take careers and specializations from this book and Edge of the Empire, mix them together, so you can have scumbags and scoundrels from the Outer Rim joining your Rebel Alliance, which only makes sense because, of course, we had Chewie and Han as key players in the Rebellion in the original trilogy. The same applies to Force and Destiny. You can have proper Jedi mixed in as well. All these games are mutually compatible. However, they're also independent. So if you just want to play Rebellion-era Star Wars, all the rules you need are in here. Likewise with Edge of the Empire and Force and Destiny. Each core rulebook is complete and stands alone, but they also can cooperate with each other, giving you an enormous amount of storytelling and character design possibilities, which is fantastic. So here they talk about what it's like fighting for a better galaxy, what drives the rebels, and the dangers they face if they're caught, which is key. And then we get into our playing the game chapter. I'm going to skip merrily through all this because it really is the same stuff that we've seen before, outlining different dice, the conversion table nobody ever uses, and how to interpret positive, negative results, success, advantage, triumph, despair, failure, threat. And then we have force resources, which in the Age of Rebellion era are still generally quite rare, but given the rise of Luke Skywalker, more force sensitives are coming out into the open. And of course, your character should be special and fun, so if they want to play Force user, go ahead and let them. Talk about, of course, setting up the dice pool. We have our 6 core attributes, which again, spend your points on attributes and character creation. That's true for all 3 of these games, because it is hard to get them up to higher levels later. Got our 5 basic difficulty levels, 1 through 5 purple dice as part of your dice pool, and they talk about the relative difficulties of those different levels. Of course, formidable is not the end. The worst possible difficulty would be 5 red dice, which would be really, really difficult, but that can happen through the course of opposed rolls with a very strong nemesis level opponent. Then they talk about building a dice pool, applying a difficulty, how you can modify a dice pool with boost and setback dice, how you can upgrade and downgrade difficulties, upgrading a difficulty versus increasing a difficulty. You can also remove dice like setbacks and boosts and other things using talents and so forth. And they've got, of course, some nice guidelines on interpreting the pool, how to do opposed checks, competitive checks, assisted checks, and then we got the other key elements of the game. Once again, so talents, destiny points, what you can do with your destiny points and how you use them. Destiny point economy and gameplay, your experience and development. So each character species will have a number of experience points to start with. You'll spend a whole bunch of them on your characteristics if you listen to my advice and the advice of anyone who's ever played this game, really. And then you'll pick up some ranks and skills. As you get XP, you'll start to build talents, and you can get talents from your specializations, and you can add more specialization as you go. When you play force users, using force powers at a good level means you have to expend XP on them, which takes away from spending XP on talents and other things. Then we've got your derived attributes, of course, wound, strain, defense, soak value. Then we get into character creation. So again, this is all the same essentially, except that your background will be different because it's going to be about why did you join the rebellion? What are your relationships with the Empire? You know, are you avenging something? Are you a new recruit? Are you an insurgent searching for a way in to really make a difference? Have you become a rebel by accident? Like you pissed off the Empire and now you might as well fight back because the alternative is execution? There's lots of different ways you can get in. Duty. So this is different now from obligation. So duty defines the specific goals and driving impulses of the player characters, establishing what each one is trying to accomplish as his part in the rebellion. It's a clear indication of what a single PC is either tasked or driven to do, not just on a single mission, but throughout their career as part of the Rebel Alliance. Being part of the rebellion, each player character has a commitment to a specific kind of duty, which is your main focus, and not just on the one mission, but in everything you do. So you can choose a duty that best fits your character from the table here, or you can roll for it, begin with a value between 5 and 20, and you work to increase this over time. And they give you a nice starting duty value table. So if you have lower PCs in the party, you start with more duty per player. There's also reductions to duty that you can take if you want to get additional starting XP or more starting credits. So the same as with obligation in Edge of the Empire. You'll immediately see is a very different feel from obligation. So one of your duty types is combat victory. The player character is driven to show that the Alliance can hold its own against Imperial forces in any troop versus troop engagement. We have counterintelligence. The PC knows that the survival of the Alliance depends upon its ability to hide from the Empire and avoid complete destruction at the hands of its overwhelming military superiority. So you want to hunt down and eliminate enemy agents and threats. And we have intelligence. The PC knows that every victory hinges on knowing as much about the Empire's military might and other assets as possible. So you're driven to gather any and all potentially useful data, wishing to locate vital and vulnerable targets for rebellion forces to strike at. We have internal security. So the most dangerous threat to the Alliance comes from within its own ranks. Any rebel soldier, operative, or ally could be an insidious threat waiting to take action at a critical moment to bring entire operations crashing down. You could be personnel as your duty. So more than machines, credits, or information, the people of the Alliance are the most important and vital assets. The player character knows this. He's devoted to seeing to their safety, well-being, and capacity for success. We got political support. Every blaster, starfighter, and thermal detonator in the galaxy is useless without the political will to truly challenge and overthrow Palpatine and his new order. Player character understands this all too well and is determined to see that as many factions, systems, and sectors as possible come to the side in the aid of the Alliance. Recruitment. So every engagement with the Empire is a war of attrition, and that is a war the rebellion simply cannot win. Nonetheless, more people must be found to serve, and they are needed in every capacity. Not only does the Alliance need more soldiers and pilots, it needs more technicians, engineers, mechanics, scientists, doctors, slicers, and just about every other kind of worker. We have resource acquisition. So these are PCs who know there are never enough supplies to fully support those fighting against the juggernaut that is the Empire. You're determined to seek out new sources of raw materials, food, clothing, weapons, armor, and equipment of all kinds. We've got sabotage. The largest and most powerful military force in the history of the galaxy is also the most vulnerable to acts of destruction and asset denial. So you're focused on disrupting Imperial operations in any way possible, whether it's the manufacture of weapons, troop movements, supply shipments, banking systems, or any other key operation, in order to make the Empire act more slowly and less capably. We've got space superiority. As with the combat victory-driven PC and how they feel about troop conflict, so the player character feels about ship-to-ship combat and naval engagements. Every single space battle is an opportunity to show the rest of the galaxy the Alliance not only can win the war, but is determined to do so. Then we got tech procurement. There's no more prolific or productive time for technological developments than during a war, and this one is no exception. So this PC sees the true opportunity for Alliance victory in the hands of scientists, engineers, and technicians. Then we have support. Individually, the lone agents of the Alliance don't stand a chance against the combined might of the Empire. Only by working together can they hope to achieve a victory. PC is devoted to helping fellow rebels fulfill their duties by providing whatever assistance they need. And then you have, of course, roll twice on the chart. If you're going random, you can have a couple of these, which will spice things up for sure. So duty in play. Before each session, the GM will roll percentile dice and compare the results of the group's current duty. So you assemble the group's duty chart here. If the roll is greater than the party's total duty value, then they have not yet collectively achieved enough to positively affect the situation or their outlook. However, if the roll is equal to or less than the group's total duty value, positive effects related to achieving their duty embolden them in their efforts. As a result, all characters increase their wound threshold by 1 for the remainder of the session. In addition, the GM can determine whose duty is triggered by comparing the results of the roll to the chart. If, for example, the GM rolled 21, then the duty of the character with the duty value of 14 to 24 is triggered. This character's wound threshold is increased by 2 instead of 1. Finally, if the GM triggered a duty and the roll was doubles, the effects of triggering that duty also double. All characters increase their wound threshold by 2, and the player character whose duty was triggered increases his wound threshold by 4. So in addition to the mechanical effects, like these gains in wounds and so forth, triggered duty can also result in tangible opportunities in the current session. Depending on the nature of the duty triggered, the PCs could come across a new opportunity to aid the Alliance by finding a previously undocumented group of prisoners, uncovering secret Imperial battle plans, or meeting unexpected new ally. So it's up to the GM to determine how a favorable roll affects the characters narratively. The GM should not feel obligated to disrupt the narrative or story in order to incorporate a triggered duty, but the effects of a triggered duty can always be mental in that case. Duty can also be used as a threshold, as a measure of the group's renown and standing within the Alliance. So the more your duty goes up, the more you would be given important missions and, more daring, potentially useful missions, but also with accompanying dangers. There's also a contribution ranking. So as the party's total duty value slowly builds up, once you exceed 100, they reach a milestone in the campaign. Their individual accomplishments have combined to create a sizable, meaningful contribution. When a meaningful contribution like this is achieved, 3 things happen. The party's contribution rank increases by 1, the Alliance rewards the party for its achievements, and the PC's duty values are all set back down to 0. So it's kind of like leveling up. The number of times a party achieves a meaningful contribution is tracked by the contribution rank. It starts at 0. Then when you get past 100 combined, you go up by 1 and bring your duties all back to 0. While the party's combined duty value can be used to represent the amount of recognition it achieves, contribution rank represents the general level of respect and recognition the party receives for their lifetime contribution to the Alliance. It's trusted with more important missions, recognized and respected by more Alliance members, and hunted by more dangerous Imperial agents. So at the GM's discretion, this can be represented by an actual rank increase within the Alliance, like from trooper to senior trooper, or by a simple change in attitude and treatment by the PC's peers. It also affects the level of rewards they receive. So Alliance rewards include things like equipment, a weapon or a piece of armor, or some other type of gear, and you get those for free. Cannot have a rarity greater than 3 plus the party's current contribution rank. At the GM's discretion, the gear acquired, though, can be restricted. You can also select a party-owned vehicle as your reward, and get 1 vehicle or starship to receive from the Alliance for free. Again, rarity no greater than 3 plus the party's current contribution rank. Price and size of vehicle the Alliance is willing to part with is up to the GM, and again, it can be restricted if they want. Or you can get a strategic asset, so it could be a safe house in a specific system, temporary use of a powerful Alliance ship, a smaller cell of Alliance operatives to aid the party, or anything else the party can imagine. You should work with the GM to work up this kind of reward, because it may have more of a narrative component and affect more of the story going forward. So you can see duty is a really different concept from obligation. Obligation is everybody in the Outer Rim is running from something, and things start catching up with you. You have to deal with the fallout of that. Duty is kind of the opposite. You're trying to build up from the lower ranks of the Alliance to becoming more trusted, more engaged with the Alliance, and the Alliance in turn rewards you with better equipment, tougher missions, but then your profile also starts to be noticed by the Empire, and so you'll get a greater pushback. And so there's a really nice back and forth there. As you get better in your missions for the rebellion, there'll be consequences coming back at you from the other direction, and the challenge level of your mission is going to increase. So it's a really nice feeling of going from 0 to hero within the Rebel Alliance. Now, step 3, select species, is also different because there's some new species represented. So we've got our Bothans, the droids again, Duros, we've got Gran. Now, each of them have, of course, their own characteristics. So Bothans are masters of manipulation and collectors of data. They're known to excel both as spies and as diplomats. And a little bit about their physiology, their society. So their species does not rate much in brawn, but they've got great cunning and average of 2 across everything else. Wound threshold 10 plus brawn, strain threshold 11 plus willpower, and starting SP of 100. They also begin with 1 rank in streetwise. Then we have our droids. We've got some different models here. So we've got the 2-1B surgical droid, 3PO protocol droids, the IG assassin droids, LEVO law enforcement droids, the LOM protocol droids, and the R-series astromech droids. So, a little bit different than what we had in Edge of the Empire. And again, with droids 1s across the board, we have 175 starting XP. So you really have a lot of points to specialize those attributes and to buy talents and special abilities. And you start with the special characteristics of being a droid, namely being inorganic, so you're not affected by medkits or sim packs, back tanks or anything like that. You need emergency repair patches and mechanics checks and to be repaired. You cannot become force sensitive or get a force rating by any means, and you can't be affected by force powers either, at least ones that affect your mind. And you also don't need to eat, sleep, or breathe and are unaffected by toxins and poisons. And you can have more cybernetic implants. And you can train 1 rank each in 6 of the 8 career skills instead of the usual 4. We've got the Duros. They're descended from reptiles, and they've got the large red slitted eyes, smooth blue-green skin, long fingers, and bald bulbous heads, and are noseless. So they're celebrated as having granted the gift of hyperspace travel to the galaxy. Revered as pilots, explorers, and storytellers, they're widely sought out after as ship engineers and mechanics, which the Alliance needs in abundance. And you can see that here. Again, their brawn is low, but they're high in intellect and average across everything else. Their wound threshold is 11 plus brawn, a little bit better than the Bothans. Strength threshold 10 plus willpower, starting XP 100. They start with 1 rank in piloting space, which is great. And they have intuitive navigation, so Duros may add advantage to all astrogation checks they make by default. That's pretty cool. The Gran, so they're keen of sight, inherently peaceful and nature-loving, and intrinsically in need of social contact. They're easily abused by the policies of the violent and careless Empire. This has driven even the most pacifist to seek fellowship and service within the rebellion. These guys are pretty much average across the board, but they've got a great deal of presence. Their need for social contact encourages them to be a strong presence in any room. Their wound threshold is 10 plus brawn. Their strength threshold is only 9 plus willpower, a little bit low, but they do have 100 XP to start. They also get 1 rank in charm negotiation at the start, and they have enhanced vision. So when making range combat or perception checks, they remove up to 2 setback imposed due to environmental conditions or concealment, but not defense. Then we've got our humans, of course, just like in the previous game, basically the baseline average score of 2 across the board for their abilities. They've got 10 plus brawn, wounds, 10 plus willpower, strain, and 110 starting XP. They can also get 1 rank in 2 different non-career skills of their choice. But as usual with all these free skills, you can't go above rank 2 at character creation. You have to go higher later. We've got the Ethorians. These are the Ethorians, so they're a bit sort of hammerhead sharkish with weird feet. Got the Mon Calamari, like Admiral Akbar. And we've got the Solistans, these kind of weird gill-faced looking dudes. These are species we saw a lot in the original trilogy. So the Ethorians, called hammerheads, so the nickname is not to their liking, as they possess one of the most unique head structures of any known biped. They're often considered the caretakers of the galaxy, so profound is their love of natural environments of all kinds, and their desire to repair the damage sentient beings do to their worlds. So their brawn is average, their agility is below average, but their willpower is higher at 3. Their wound threshold is a bit low at 9 plus brawn, they're a little bit fragile, but they're pretty strong of mind. They've got a strength threshold of 12 plus willpower, and because of that, a bit less starting experience at 90, but they begin with 1 rank in survival, and since they have 2 mouths and 4 throats, they have a unique natural weapon they can call upon when threatened. Resilience, damage 6, critical 4, range short, blast 3, concussive 1, slow firing 2, and stun damage. Whenever they use this ability, they suffer 3 strain. Then we got the Mon Calamari. So they're artists, dreamers, and devoted allies. When they choose a cause, they're one of the most respected species in the galaxy with a long history of service to the Old Republic. Unfortunately, their planet has been utterly subjugated by the Empire. They're now a species enslaved to serve the Imperial War Machine. Those who have escaped this fate are determined to see their planet and the galaxy free. They're natural amphibians. Their height ranges between 1.3 and 1.8 meters and a very fish-like appearance. As far as their abilities, they're low in cunning at 1 and high in intellect at 3. Wound threshold and strength threshold are average, 10 plus brawn and 10 plus willpower respectively. Strength experience is average again at 100, but they begin with 1 rank in knowledge education, and they can breathe underwater without penalty and never suffer movement penalty for traveling through water because they're amphibious. Very cool. Celestins, so they're born underground, but with a yearning for the stars. Most Celestins find their way into space as pilots and astrogators. They're affable, curious, and free-spirited. They're not fond of the Empire, and even less fond of the fact that the corporatocracy that runs their government from the offices of Sorosub has sold their entire planet to the Imperial War Machine. Yeah, screw that. Their species abilities, they've got high agility at 3 and low cunning at 1. Wound and strength threshold are both average, 10 plus brawn and 10 plus willpower respectively. Average starting XP at 100, and they begin with 1 rank in astrogation. Then we get your career and specializations. They line up sort of which role you should pick, depending on what you want to do in the party. If you're a combat character, then soldier would be the main choice, but commander is also capable. If you want to be a pilot or speeder jockey, then you'll want to have an ace in the group. If you are wanting to be a face, a talker or a political kind of animal, then diplomats will be great for that, but spies as well will work for that. Covert ops, obviously the spy is paramount for this, but engineers can also work well. Support for the team, support character. Diplomat and engineer are two primary careers in this role, while certain aspects of commander and soldier also serve well. Choosing the specialization is the next step of that. So each career, as per before, we have multiple specializations. And for that, you want to think about, well, how did the character get into this career? What are they good at? What kind of things would they be called upon to perform? And then we jump right in. So the ace, 8 career skills are astrogation, cool, gunnery, mechanics, perception, piloting planetary, piloting space, and ranged light. You automatically gain a rank in 4 of these skills without spending experience and receive a discount on increasing them with future experience points. So their role is piloting vehicles from repulsor lift speeders to massive starships and everything in between. And they've got 3 specializations. We've got the driver, steady at the wheel, so they will be really good with land vehicles. So they have the additional starting career skills of cool, gunnery, mechanics, and piloting planetary. When this is a PC's first specialization, the player may choose 2 of these skills in which to gain a free rank. Gunner, always on target, so they are skilled at using weaponry of craft they are crewing, so they gain discipline, gunnery, ranged heavy, and resilience. Then we have our pilots, so they love to zip around amongst the stars, and they gain astrogation, gunnery, piloting planetary, and piloting space as additional career skills. So, ace pilots are pretty well known, Red Squadron, Gold Squadron, these kind of guys. So they get a lot of glory, but the missions are pretty dangerous. Flying in a starship is an easy way to die. So keep that in mind. They give some ideas for stories about aces, so they have a lot of pride in what they do, because an ace gains their talents due to the training and mentorship of older and wiser folk who have survived many trials. They feel an obligation to carry on that legacy and fight for the same ideals as those who came before and who donated their time to help them become everything they could be. They also tend to be daring. They love the adrenaline rush that will often drive them to take on pretty dangerous missions. So we've got first the driver talent tree. Once again, we distinguish between active abilities and passive. Passive are always on, and active you need to make a roll or pay something to activate. So they've got mainly driving related stuff here. We've got the all-terrain driving, so you don't suffer penalties for difficult terrain. Full throttle means if you make a hard piloting check, you can increase a top speed of a vehicle by 1 for a number of rounds equal to your cunning. Fine tuning lets you repair at 1 additional system strain per rank. Gearhead removes 1 setback per rank of gearhead from mechanics checks. Get grit to get more strain, so remove setback per rank of skilled jockey from piloting planetary and piloting space check. Rapid reaction, so you can suffer a number of strain to add an equal number of successes to initiative checks. Strain suffered cannot exceed ranks in rapid reaction. So that's really handy. You can get the jump on initiative. You got more grit. You got improved full throttle, so you can suffer 1 strain to attempt full throttle as a maneuver, so it won't take up your action, and decreases difficulty to average, which is awesome. Tricky target, count a vehicle or starship piloted as having a silhouette 1 lower when being attacked, making you harder to hit. You can get more wound thresholds, more ranks of fine tuning. Defensive driving, increase the defense of your vehicle or starship being piloted by 1 per rank. Natural driver, reroll 1 piloting planetary or gunnery check once per session. Supreme full throttle, you increase your top speed by 2. Full stop, take a full stop maneuver to reduce speed to 0 and suffer system strain equal to the speed reduced. Master driver, you can suffer 2 strain to perform any action as a maneuver. And finally, you have a dedication to get +1 to a characteristic. So pretty cool character tree. Now as a ground vehicle ace, you won't get as much fancy rewards and opportunities as a space vehicle ace, but there's still a lot of useful talents in here. Now the gunner, here we have more active skills than in the previous career. We've got passive stuff like durable, so you reduce critical injuries by 10 per ranks of durable. Grit to gain more strain. Toughen to gain more wounds. Spare clip, so you don't run out of ammo even with the despair. Jury rigged, you can choose 1 weapon, armor, or other item and give it a permanent improvement while it remains in use. More toughened during jury rigged, and then dedication. On the active side, you've got overwhelmed defenses, so upon unsuccessful attack with a starship or vehicle weapon, spend 2 advantage per rank of overwhelmed defenses, and reduce the defense in the targeted zone by 1 for every 2 advantage spent. So even if you miss, you can still reduce the defenses of whatever you were attacking, which is really handy with big targets like larger starships. You have brace, you can remove 1 setback per rank of brace from your next action. Debilitating shot, if you make a successful shot, you can spend your 2 advantage to reduce the maximum speed of the target by 1 until the end of the next round. That's really useful as well if you've got a fast enemy like a TIE fighter. You can spend your advantage to slow them down and make them an easier target for the next in line. True aim, you can perform a maneuver to gain benefits of aiming and upgrade your combat check once per rank of true aim. You got overwhelmed defenses again, exhaust port, so you can spend 1 destiny point to ignore the effects of the massive rule for an attack. If you're attacking a very large starship or vehicle, that is very, very cool. And I love the name exhaust port, referencing the weak point of the Death Star that Luke exploited. Then we got brace again, then heroic fortitude. You can spend a destiny point to ignore effects of critical injuries on brawn or agility checks until the end of the encounter, and another rank of true aim, another rank of jury-rigged, and a dedication to gain a characteristic. Then you've got your pilot talent tree. You've got a pretty even split here between active and passive. So they gain the full throttle action, which we've seen. Skill jockey, we've seen as well. Galaxy mapper, remove a setback per rank galaxy mapper from astrogation checks. Astrogation checks also take half the normal time. Let's ride. Once per round, you may mount or dismount a vehicle or beast or enter a cockpit or weapon station as an incidental action, so it's a free action. Skill jockey is there again. Rapid recovery allows you to recover 1 additional strain per rank. Dead to rights, you can spend a destiny point to add additional damage equal to half your agility rounded up to 1 hit of a successful attack made with ship or vehicle mounted weaponry. We've got improved full throttle again. We've got improved dead to rights. So you can spend a destiny point to add additional damage equal to your agility. Grit, which we've seen before, to get more strain. Natural pilot, you can reroll 1 piloting space or gunnery check. Supreme full throttle, tricky target is there again, defensive driving is there again. Master pilot, so when piloting once per round, you can suffer 2 strain to perform any action as a maneuver. You get a dedication for a characteristic as well. You gain toughen for more wounds, and finally brilliant evasion. So once per encounter, you can take the brilliant evasion action, select one opponent and make an opposed piloting planetary or space check to stop opponent from attacking character for rounds equal to your agility. How cool is that? They just can't attack you for a number of rounds equal to your agility. So for an ace, you want good agility. Commander, so your 8 career skills are coercion, cool, discipline, knowledge, warfare, leadership, perception, range, light, and vigilance. So the role of commander is to organize, manage, and lead the fighters and other people who serve in a military force so they accomplish truly great things together. And there are 3 specializations under here. We have Commodore Capital Command. These are the commanders of capital ships, essentially. They add astrogation, computers, knowledge education, and knowledge outer rim to their career skills. Then we got Squadron Leader, so these are ship-to-ship commanders. They have access to gunnery, mechanics, piloting planetary, and piloting space as their additional career skills. And then we have Tacticians. They are on the ground commanders, so they focus on brawl, discipline, leadership, and ranged heavy. Very, very cool. And their stories can be about legacy. Maybe they come from a family of great leaders and they have a lot to live up to. Maybe they become leaders by circumstance. They got a field promotion because the commander died and got to step up to the occasion. Or they feel that the call of duty to the rebellion driving them to bigger and better things. They have a vision for what they want to accomplish, and that leads them into a commanderly role. So we first look at the Commodore talent tree. So we've got solid repairs. So if you're repairing hull trauma on a starship or vehicle, repair 1 additional hull trauma per rank of solid repairs. Command gives you a boost die per rank of command when making leadership checks. Affected targets add a boost to discipline checks for the next 24 hours. Rapid reaction, suffer a number strain to add a number of successes to initiative checks. We've got Galaxy Mapper again. Commanding presence is great. You remove a setback per rank of commanding presence from leadership and cool checks. Known schematic we've seen before. This is where you make a hard knowledge education check and you get familiarity with a building or a starship's design. We've got some standard stuff like grit mixed in there, more solid repairs, familiar suns. So once per session, you can perform a familiar suns maneuver, make a hard knowledge outer rim or core worlds check to reveal the current type of planetary environment and other useful information. You got more ranks of command, more ranks of rapid reaction, and galaxy mapper. Hold together, you can spend a destiny point to perform a hold together incidental immediately after vehicle or starship takes damage to turn it into system strain. We got more commanding presence, more grit, master starhopper. You can suffer 2 strain once per round to decrease the difficulty of your next astrogation check by 1 to a minimum of easy. Then finally we got more solid repairs, fire control, so all combat checks made from current starship or vehicle count their target silhouette as 1 higher than normal until beginning of next turn. So that means it's easier to hit your opponent. Remember, it's easier to hit higher silhouettes than lower ones. And they get a dedication to gain a rank and a characteristic, and finally another rank of galaxy mapper. So there's pretty cool stuff in there. I like fire control a lot. Master starhopper, rapid reaction is always good. Definitely stuff that gives you advantage in leading a starship combat scenario. Now, the squadron leader talent tree is also cool. So we have defensive driving again, grit, we've seen, of course, quick strike. We get 1 boost die per rank of quick strike to combat checks against targets that have not yet acted. We've got field commander, average leadership check, and a number of allies equal to your presence may immediately suffer 1 strain to perform 1 free maneuver, which is great. Brings me back to D&D 4E and the Warlord. We've got confidence, decreases difficulty of discipline checks to avoid fear by 1 per rank of confidence. Situational awareness, allies within short range of the vehicle add a boost die to their perception and vigilance checks. Allies within close range add 2 boost die instead. Then we have defensive driving again, full stop again, grit, command, improve field commander. This is an action that affects allies equal to double your presence and may spend a triumph to allow one ally to suffer 1 strain and perform 1 free action instead. Form on me, allies equal to ranks in leadership in close range gain the benefits of the gain the advantage action. We got tricky target, which we've seen for the ace. Master leader, you can suffer 2 strain to decrease difficulty of your next leadership check by 1. Get some more confidence, another dedication, and then brilliant evasion again. Then we've got our tactician talent tree. Here we're talking about ground-based battles. So we've got outdoorsman, remove a setback per rank of outdoorsman from checks to move through terrain or manage environmental effects, decrease overland travel times by half. Commanding presence, so that we've seen before. Toughened, of course, gives you more wounds. Sidestep is nice. Once per round, you can perform a sidestep maneuver and suffer a number of strain to upgrade the difficulty of all incoming ranged attacks by an equal number for the next round. Got more ranks of outdoorsman, confidence, quick draw. You can draw or holster a weapon as an incidental. Swift means you don't suffer the penalties for moving through difficult terrain. Natural outdoorsman, you can reroll any one resilience or survival check. More toughened, we've got bodyguard. Guard and engage character. Suffer a number of strain no greater than ranks of bodyguard. Then until the beginning of the next turn, upgrade the difficulty of combat checks targeting the character by that number. We've got a couple of ranks of that available. We've got sidestep again, field commander again. Then we have commanding presence again, confidence. Coordinated assault. So you spend a maneuver and a number of engaged allies equal to your leadership ranks add advantage to combat checks until the beginning of the next turn. Range increases per rank of coordinated assault. Natural leader lets you reroll 1 cool or leadership check once per session. Improve field commander, so it affects allies equal to double your presence and may spend a triumph to allow one ally to suffer 1 strain and perform 1 free action instead. And then you have a dedication to get another point in a characteristic. Always useful. Then you got the diplomat. They have career skills of charm, deception, knowledge, core worlds, knowledge lore, knowledge outer rim, knowledge xenology, leadership, and negotiation. So your role is to basically procure people as a resource and to bring people onto the rebellion side, politically or through their monetary support, whatever they can manage. In that vein, we've got 3 different types of diplomat specializations that fit these different areas of acquiring stuff. So you got the ambassador. So they court support for the cause using charm, discipline, knowledge, core worlds, and negotiation. So these ambassadors try to convince planets, factions, or corporations to side with the rebellion. And that, of course, brings massive additional support and personnel to the rebellion. The agitator, so they have coercion, deception, knowledge, underworld, and streetwise. So they live in the underground and get people to sign up to the rebellion cause by agitating them to fight back against their oppressors. Then we've got the quartermaster, so they're the ones who secure and protect resources and work on logistics for the rebellion. So they gain computers, negotiation, skullduggery, and vigilance. Any military relies an extraordinary amount on supply, and so the quartermasters are a really big deal to the success of the rebellion military. They need to see that logistic needs are met, and so they're specialized in making sure that that happens. Otherwise, the military will run out of stuff, and if you run out of stuff, you can't fight. Now, the type of stories with diplomats, you could be somebody from a noble background, came from the galaxy's upper crust or aristocracy, but you began to realize that the Empire was overstepping and becoming something that needs to be stopped. You could be romantic, so you heard the stories of heroes of old, and you feel that you're destined for greater things and to bring freedom to the galaxy. Or you could be very self-aware. You just know that you're not great on the battlefield, but you're great at talking, you're great at getting people on your side, or making sure that folks are fed and guns are loaded and everything like that. You decide to put your best skills to use. So we'll look first at the ambassador. Indistinguishable, upgrade difficulty of checks to identify a character once per rank of indistinguishable, so they blend into the background more easily. Kill with kindness is a good one, so you remove a setback per rank of kill with kindness from charm and leadership checks. You can upgrade the difficulty of incoming charm, coercion, and deception checks once per rank of nobody's fool, and confidence again will help you avoid fear. We got more indistinguishable, we got grit to get more strain, we got dodge. You can perform a dodge incidental to suffer a number of strain no greater than ranks of dodge, then upgrade the difficulty of the check by that number when you're targeted by a combat check. More kill with kindness. Inspiring rhetoric, this is a good one. So you make an average leadership check, 2 dice of difficulty. Each success causes one ally in close range to recover 1 strain. Spend advantage to cause one affected ally to recover 1 additional strain. Steely nerves, you can spend a destiny point to ignore effects or critical injuries on willpower and presence checks until the end of the encounter. We've got more confidence. We've got improved inspiring rhetoric. So each ally inspired by inspiring rhetoric gains a boost die on all skill checks for a number of rounds equal to your ranks in leadership. How cool is that? Intense presence, you can spend a destiny point to recover strain equal to your presence rating. Very handy. Works like a charm. Once per session, make 1 skill check using presence rather than whatever characteristic is normally linked to that skill. We've got dodge as well. Again, we've got supreme inspiring rhetoric, so you can suffer 1 one strain to perform inspiring rhetoric as a maneuver instead of an action. So you can inspire people with your rhetoric and then take a combat action as well, which is great. Natural Charmer, once per session, you can reroll any charm or deception check. You got a dedication and also Sixth Sense. You can gain +1 to your range defense. That's really nice. Added to your character irrespective of their armor or whatever. Agitator. So this is a cool one. And some cool new stuff here. We've got Nobody's Fool and Grit again, but we've also got Plausible Deniability. Remove a setback per rank of Plausible Deniability from coercion and deception checks. We've got Intimidating. So you can suffer a number of strain to downgrade difficulty of coercion checks or upgrade difficulty when targeted by coercion checks by an equal number. Strain suffered in this way cannot exceed your ranks in Intimidating. Remove a setback per rank of Street Smarts from Streetwise and Knowledge Underworld checks. And we've got a couple of those. We've got Convincing Demeanor. Remove a setback per rank of Convincing Demeanor from Deception and Skullduggery checks. Got more Intimidating. We've got some Grit. Scathing Tirade. This is a good one. So you make an average coercion check with 2 dice. Each success causes one enemy in short range to suffer 1 strain. Spend an advantage to cause one affected enemy to suffer 1 additional strain. Here you're tearing down your opponents and insulting their mothers or whatever and giving them strain, which is pretty cool. Then we got more Convincing Demeanor, Plausible Deniability, Nobody's Fool, Improved Scathing Tirade. So for each enemy affected by a Scathing Tirade, they also get a setback on all skill checks for a number of rounds equal to your ranks of coercion. So coercion, very important skill for the agitator. We got more Intimidating. We've got Natural Enforcer. That means once per session you can reroll any one coercion or streetwise check. More Intimidating. We've got a Dedication, which is great, and Supreme Scathing Tirade, where you suffer 1 strain to perform Scathing Tirade as a maneuver instead of an action. And then we got Incite Rebellion. Once per session you can take an Incite Rebellion action, make a hard coercion check to cause a number of beings up to ranks of coercion to become rebellious until the end of the encounter. How cool is that? You can get people to just switch sides in the middle of the encounter. And we got the Quartermaster, finally. It's the last Diplomat specialization. So they've got Know Somebody. Once per session, when attempting to purchase a legally available item, reduce its rarity by 1 per rank of Knowing Somebody. Smooth Talker is a good one. So when first acquired, choose Charm, Coercion, or Deception, or Negotiation. When you make checks with that skill, spend a Triumph to gain additional successes equal to your ranks in Smooth Talker. Wheel and Deal, you can get 10% more credits when selling goods per rank of Wheel and Deal. You got Grit for Strain, Toughen for Wounds. Master Merchant, you can suffer 2 strain to sell for 25% more or buy for 25% less. You got Greased Palms, so when making a social check, spend up to 60 credits per rank of Greased Palms to upgrade the ability of the check once for every 50 spent. This is a bribery skill. It's pretty awesome. We got Smooth Talker again, another rank in that. We got some more Grit. We got some more Wheeling and Dealing. Bought Info, so instead of making a knowledge check, you can make a Bought Info action. Spend credits equal to 50 times the difficulty of the check to pass with 1 success. You can just buy your way out of a knowledge check. We got some more Grit, some more Know Somebody. Sound Investments. At the start of each session, you gain 100 credits for each rank of Sound Investments, so you just get free cash flow. Couple of ranks of that. We got Intense Focus. If you perform an Intense Focus maneuver, suffer 1 strain and upgrade the ability of your next skill check once. And at the bottom, we've got Toughen for Wounds, Superior Reflexes to get +1 melee defense. Again, very, very handy to have that naturally. Natural Negotiator, you can reroll any 1 cooler negotiation check. And, of course, Dedication to get more characteristics. Very cool. Now we've got our engineers. They have athletics, computers, knowledge education, mechanics, perception, piloting space, range, light, and vigilance as their career skills. Basically, they need to maintain all the massive amounts of technology needed to keep up the war against the Empire. And they speak the language of computers, engines, and electrical conduits. So there's 3 specializations here. As usual, we have the mechanic, making things go. So they have 4 additional career skills: brawl, mechanics, piloting space, and skullduggery. And they tend to work in the field. Saboteurs, they love to make stuff explode. Kind of the opposite of the usual role of the mechanic. So they have coordination, mechanics, skullduggery, and stealth as their additional career skills, and they love to blow stuff up. We have the scientists, so they like to make new things. So that gives them computers, knowledge education, knowledge lore, and medicine, and they tend to pursue their work in labs, and they work on new science and research to help the advancement of technology for the rebellion. Stories for engineers could be based on their intellectualism, so they might be highly educated and enlightened, and they have a natural repulsion against tyranny because of that. They might just like the challenge. They believe that fighting the massive might of the Empire is a crazy idea, but a great puzzle to solve, and so they want to do that. Or they might feel guilty. Maybe they helped the Empire unknowingly in their previous work, and now they want to switch to the rebellion and help them fight back to assuage that guilt. So first we've got the mechanic. So they've got a lot of skills to do with repairing stuff, like Gearhead. Remove a setback per rank of Gearhead for mechanics checks. Have the credit cost to add mods to attachments. Toughen for more wounds. Fine-tuning. You get additional system strain. Repaired for a rank of fine-tuning on a starship. Solid repairs, we've seen before. Grit as well. Gearhead, we have again. Solid repairs again. Then redundant systems. So once per session, you can make a redundant systems check. Make an easy mechanics check to harvest components from a functioning device to repair a broken one without breaking the first device. We got solid repairs again. again, Enduring to get +1 to your soak. That's a great one. Bad Motivator. So once per session, you can take a Bad Motivator action. Make a hard mechanics check to cause one targeted device to spontaneously fail. Got Hard-Headed. When staggered or disoriented, perform the Hard-Headed action. Make a daunting discipline check to remove your status. Difficulty reduced by 1 per rank of Hard-Headed. Then it goes to Improved Hard-Headed. So if you're incapacitated due to strain exceeding your threshold, you may take a more difficult Hard-Headed action to reduce strain to 1 below your threshold. Got more solid repairs and fine-tuning and dedication at the end there. Got Hold Together, which we saw with the Commodore. Natural Tinkerer. So once per session, you can reroll any one mechanics check. And Contraption. Once per session, you can take a Contraption action. Make a hard mechanics check to fashion a device to solve a current problem using just the tools and parts on hand. That's your Engineer Mechanic. Now we got your Saboteur. So you got Resolve. When you're voluntarily suffering strain, suffer 1 less strain per rank of Resolve to a minimum of 1. Second Wind is an incidental to recover strain equal to ranks in Second Wind once per encounter. You got Grit, Rapid Recovery, we've seen before. Second Wind again. Toughen for more wounds. Powerful Blast. So this is good. When you're using explosives and explosive weapons and grenades, you increase the blast damage by 1 per rank of Powerful Blast. Time to Go. So you can spend 1 destiny point to perform a move maneuver as an incidental. Attempt to move into cover or out of the blast range of a weapon or explosion. Very handy. Improved Time to Go lets you allow 1 engaged ally to also perform an out-of-turn move maneuver as an incidental to jump with you into cover from Powerful Blast. And you can increase your ranks of Powerful Blast until you get to Master Grenadier. Decrease the advantage cost to activate the blast quality on any weapon used by 1 to a minimum of 1, and then to a dedication to increase your characteristics. You can also do Selective Detonation. When you have any weapon with the blast quality, spend advantage to exclude 1 target that would normally be affected. Selective Detonation can be done again, which means you can just exclude more targets from the detonation, and you have your improved Hard-Headed as well. Then we've got your Scientists. So they're focused on knowledge and research. So we've got a knowledge specialization. Choose 1 knowledge skill, and when making that skill check, you can spend a triumph result to gain additional successes equal to your rank in knowledge specialization. Respected Scholar, you can downgrade difficulty of checks to interact with institutes of learning by 1 per rank of Respected Scholar. Researcher, remove a setback per rank of researcher from knowledge checks. Researching a subject takes half the time it normally would. You can speak binary. When directing NPC droids, you may grant them a boost per rank of speaks binary on checks. We got Researcher again, knowledge specialization again, hidden storage. So a vehicle or equipment that you have holds items with total encumbrance equal to ranks in hidden storage. Tinkerer, add 1 additional hard point to a number of items equal to ranks in Tinkerer. Inventor, when constructing new items or modifying attachments, add a boost or remove a setback per rank of Inventor. Speaking binary again, Mental Fortress, spend 1 destiny point to ignore effects of critical injuries on intellect and cunning checks until the end of your encounter. We've got Natural Scholar, you can reroll any 1 knowledge skill check once per session. Stroke of Genius, once per session. Make 1 skill check using intellect rather than the characteristic linked to that skill. Inventor again, we got Tinkerer again. Utility Belt is great. You can spend 1 destiny point to perform a Utility Belt incidental. Produce a previously undocumented item or weapon with restrictions from a tool belt or satchel. You got Dedication, which is always nice. Careful Planning. Once per session may introduce a fact into the narrative as if a destiny point had been spent. And finally, Intense Focus again, where you suffer a strain and upgrade the ability of your next skill check. We've got the Soldier. They're the guys on the front line. They're the ones who take up arms and face death for the cause. 8 core career skills. We've got Athletics, Brawl, Knowledge Warfare, Medicine, Melee, Ranged Light, Ranged Heavy, and Survival. Commandos are the specialists, so they're trained to strike the enemy from unexpected directions, and as such they gain Brawl, Melee, Resilience, and Survival as their additional commander skills, and they're a fine general purpose combat specialist to have around. We also have the Medic, who can save the team from losses. They go into the field with Knowledge, Xenology, Medicine, Resilience, and Vigilance for their additional career skills. And then we got the Sharpshooter, so they gain Cool, Perception, Ranged Heavy, and Ranged Light. They are known for maintaining their composure under, lots of blaster bolts and limiting threats with ruthless efficiency. And soldier stories could be based on honor, so many who call themselves soldiers believe that, fighting honorably for a good cause is the best way to be a soldier. We have patriotism, so maybe they are defending their homes from the tyranny of the empire. Glory seekers as well, so maybe soldiers take up arms and charge to battle because they want to gain that sense of glorious victory. Then we start with our commando talent tree, so they have a lot of passive skills and only 2 active ones here, but they get a lot of boosts to useful combat elements here. So physical training, for example, you add a boost per rank of physical training to athletics and resilience checks. You got grit for strain, toughen for wounds, point blank, add 1 damage per rank of point blank to damage of 1 hit of successful attack using range heavy or range light at short range or engaged. More toughened, durable, reduce your criticals, physical training again. Strong arm, you can treat thrown weapons as if they had 1 greater range. Blooded, you add a boost per rank of blooded to all checks to resist or recover from poisons, venoms, or toxins, and reduce the duration of ongoing poisons by 1 round per rank of blooded. Armor Master, increase your total soak value by 1 when you have armor on. Natural Outdoorsman, we've seen before. Feral Strength, add 1 damage per rank of Feral Strength to 1 hit of successful attack made using Brawl or Melee. More Toughen for more wounds. Heroic Fortitude, spend 1 destiny point to ignore effects of critical injury on brawn or agility checks till the end of the encounter. Knockdown, after hitting with a melee attack, you can spend a triumph to knock the target prone. Improved Armor Master, if you have a soak value of 2 or higher, you increase your defense by 1. You can have a Dedication. Unstoppable, critical injury roll is 1 or reduced to 1. Do not receive the critical injury. Feral Strength, we saw before, adding damage to your successful attack with Brawl or Melee. So very, very combat focused. The Medic. So again, we have useful combat stuff in here, but we also have some really useful talents for saving yourself and others on the battlefield. So Forager, remove up to 2 setback from skill checks to find food, water, or shelter. Survival checks to forage take half the time. Stimpack Specialization, you get 1 additional wound healed per rank of Stimpack Specialization. Grit, this is increased strain, of course. Surgeon, when you make a medicine check to help a character heal wounds, you get 1 additional wound back per rank of Surgeon. Toughen again, Surgeon again, Stimpack again, back to Specialist. Patients heal 1 additional wound per rank of back to Specialist when they heal wounds via back to tanks or long-term care. Well-rounded, you choose any 2 skills and they permanently become career skills. Grit gives you more strain. Stim Application, so you take an action, make an average medicine check, and if successful, one engaged ally increases 1 characteristic by 1 for the remainder of the encounter and suffers 4 strain. Master Doctor, once per round, suffer 2 strain to decrease the difficulty of medicine check by 1. They got the dodge action, which we've seen before. Natural Doctor lets them reroll 1 medicine check per session. Improved Stim Application, you can increase the difficulty of the check to hard, and the target will only suffer 1 strain instead of 4. Stimpack Specialization again. Anatomy Lessons, after making a successful attack, you can spend 1 destiny point to add damage equal to your intellect to 1 hit. You got a Dedication there, which is useful always. It's not that bad. So once per session, when an ally would suffer a critical injury, you could take a not that bad action, make a hard medicine check to stop the ally from gaining the critical injury. And then we've got Supreme Stim Application. When you're performing a Stim Application action, spend a triumph to increase an additional characteristic by 1. Alright, now we got your Sharpshooters. They again have quite a lot of active talents here, which help them to be an excellent marksman. So first they get Expert Tracker. So you remove setback per rank of Expert Tracker from checks to find tracks or track targets, and decrease the time to track a target by half. Sniper Shot, you make non-thrown range attack, and you can perform a Sniper Shot maneuver to increase the weapon's range by 1 range band per rank at Sniper Shot. Upgrade the difficulty of the attack by 1 per range band increase. Brace, you can remove setback per rank of Brace from your next action. True Aim, you can gain the benefits of aiming and upgrade your combat check once per rank of True Aim. Deadly Accuracy, choose 1 combat skill and add damage equal to ranks in that skill to 1 hit of successful attack made using that skill. Lethal Blows, add plus 10 per rank of lethal blows to any critical injury results inflicted on opponents. That's very useful. Brace again, Lethal Blows again, Sniper Shot again, True Aim again, Expert Tracker again, Deadly Accuracy again, Toughened again, Crippling Blow. Increase the difficulty of your next combat check by 1. If the check deals damage, target suffers 1 strain whenever he moves for the remainder of the encounter. At the bottom, Quick Fix, once per session make a skill check using agility rather than the characteristic linked to that skill. Natural Marksman, you can reroll any 1 range light or range heavy check. Dedication, of course, and Targeted Blow, you can make a successful attack and then spend 1 destiny point to add damage equal to your agility to 1 hit. So Sharpshooters have a nice agility. Then we got the Spy. So their 8 career skills are Computers, Cool, Coordination, Deception, Knowledge, Warfare, Perception, Skullduggery, and Stealth. And they automatically gain ranks in 4 of those. Their role is to be soldiers of a different type. They undo the enemy's plans, hinder the enemy's ability to do battle effectively, and gain intelligence. So the Infiltrator, they look for finding secrets, so they gain ranks in Deception, Melee, Skullduggery, and Streetwise. And they rarely rely upon brute force, direct confrontation, use stealth, guile, and disguise to get the information you need. The Scout will find the way, so you need to know where the enemy is and what they're doing, what the conditions of that area of operations are, and the Scout will do that through athletics, medicine, piloting, planetary, and survival as your additional skills. And they got the Slicers. So they are finding the data, and we have Slicers in Edge of the Empire as well. They gain computer, knowledge, education, knowledge, underworld, and stealth skills. Spy stories could involve paying back a debt. So more than a few spies owe their lives to the quick actions of another who happened to be in the wrong place at the right time. And they trade heavily on favors in the community of spies. They could just enjoy the challenge. Life is just too boring and quiet if they aren't plying their trade and selling secrets and buying secrets and finding secrets. could have very powerful enemies, particularly within the Empire, so they want to stay off the radar of the Empire and become spy to remove any loose ends or people that know of their existence. So first up we have the Infiltrator talent tree. Dodge and Grit, which we've seen before. Frenzied Attack, when making a melee or brawl check, suffer a number of strain to upgrade the attack an equal number of times. The strain suffered may not exceed rank in Frenzied Attack. Defensive Stance, you can perform a defensive stance maneuver and suffer a number of strain to upgrade the difficulty of all incoming melee attacks by an equal number. Got Stunning Blow, so when making a melee check, you can inflict damage as strain instead of wounds, but it doesn't ignore soak. Soft Spot, you spend a Destiny point with a successful attack to add damage equal to Cunning to one hit. Jump Up, once per round, you may stand from seated or prone as an incidental free action. Knockdown, we've seen before. Frenzied Attack again, Grit again, Dodge again. Natural Brawler, so once per session, you may reroll any one brawl or melee check. Get Toughened for more wounds, Grit for more strain. Improved Stunning Blow, so this time, when you're dealing strain damage with melee or brawl check, you can spend a Triumph to stagger the target for 1 round per Triumph. We've got Defensive Stance again, leading then to Natural Rogue, so once per session you may reroll any 1 Skullduggery or Stealth check. Then Master of Shadows, suffer 2 strain once per round to decrease difficulty of your next Stealth or Skullduggery check by 1. Clever Solution, once per session, make 1 skill check using Cunning rather than the characteristic linked to that skill. And of course, Dedication down here in the corner. Then we got the Scouts, so they have Rapid Recovery, which we've seen before. Stalker is a new one. Get a boost per rank of Stalker to Stealth and Coordination checks, very cool. Shortcut, during a chase you can add a boost per rank in Shortcut to any checks made to catch or escape an opponent. Quick Strike we've seen, Let's Ride we've seen. Disorient, after hitting with a combat check you can spend 2 advantage to disorient the target for a number of rounds equal to ranks in Disorient. Rapid Recovery and Natural Hunter we've seen. Familiar Sons as well, we've seen with the Commodore. Toughen for more wounds. Heightened Awareness, so allies within close range will get a boost to their perception or vigilance, and engaged allies add 2 boosts. Then we got a Utility Belt, which we've seen as a great talent. Dedication, which is always useful. Another rank of Stalker, and another rank of Disorient. Then we got the Slicer, skills we'll be familiar with from Edge of the Empire, like Codebreaker. Remove a setback per rank in Codebreaker from checks to break codes or decrypt communications. We've got Grit for more strain. Technical Aptitude, reduce time needed to complete computer-related tasks by 25% per rank. Bypass Security, remove a setback per rank of Bypass Security from checks made to disable a security device or open a locked door. Defensive Slicing, when defending a computer system, add a setback per rank of Defensive Slicing to opponent's checks. And more Technical Aptitude, more Grit, more Bypass Security, more Grit, more Defensive Slicing, more Bypass Security. Natural Programmer, you can reroll any 1 computer or astrogation check once per session. More Defensive Slicing. Improved Defensive Slicing is cool. You can now upgrade opponent's difficulty once per rank of Defensive Slicing and replace the usual benefits. And more Codebreaker, more Resolve, which we've seen before. Skilled Slicer, when making a computer's check, you can spend a Triumph to make further computer's checks within this system as maneuvers. Master Slicer, once per round, you can take a Master Slicer incidental to suffer 2 strain and decrease difficulty of computers or other slicing checks by 1 to a minimum of 1. And you got your dedication there as well. Then we got your Recruit. The Recruit specialization is a universal specialization. Gain additional career skills in athletics, discipline, survival, and vigilance. So you can add this to almost any career and gain some kind of basic military training. So this is really handy. And again, increases the vibe that, to be part of the rebellion, you need to be able to handle yourself in a fight. So they get basic combat training. Brawl and ranged light become career skills. They get Second Wind, Outdoorsman, tactical combat training. So melee and ranged heavy become career skills. Second Wind again, vehicle combat training, giving you gunnery and piloting planetary as career skills. Well-traveled gives you knowledge core worlds and knowledge outer rim as career skills. Toughened gives you more wounds. Quick draw. Toughened again. Spare clip. Again, you can't run out of ammo due to despair. More Second Wind. You can jump up. Creative Killer. Reduce the crit rating of improvised weapons by 2. Dynamic Fire, when making a ranged attack while engaged with an opponent, you may suffer 2 strain to reduce the range modifier by 1. Dedication, more Toughened, and Enduring to gain more to your soak. So these are all really nice basic combat skills that, even Diplomats, any other talent tree, if you add this to it, you could probably benefit from these as basic combat skills. Then we have the rules about investing experience, for the same as before. Your derived attributes, your motivations, your specific beliefs. These motivations are going to be a little bit different than they were in Edge of the Empire. So believing in the Republic and what it stood for, you believe in honor, the Jedi, justice, species rights, peace, religion, philosophy, the importance of freedom, the importance of progress, or you're a criminal. Then we've got specific connections. They could be political, family connections, military, intelligence, friends, the underworld, economic connections, love interests, nobody, or the Empire. And you can have specific quests, maybe for redemption, glory, vengeance, influence. You want to rescue someone from the Empire, restore the light of the Jedi to the galaxy, remove your people or someone else from slavery. You want to fight the Sith, you want riches, or you're just in it for the thrills. And they talk about, of course, how to draw on motivations in play. Then we got your gear and appearance. Acquire Rebellion resources. Groups who want to have the flexibility of multiple ships while still having hyperdrive can choose to start with a small number of Y-Wings. You get a number of BTL S3 Y-Wings equal to half the number of the PCs in their group rounded up. Or you can get a commandeered Lambda-class shuttle, get a base of operations instead of a ship. So it reduces your mobility but gives you a stable safe haven and additional resources. And each PC in the party will get an additional 1,000 credits worth of starting gear, which is cool. Then we got your skills. Again, pretty much what we've seen before. All of them nicely described with options for how to spend advantage or despair or threat or triumph, all different stuff. Lots of nice artwork here from the original trilogy. Got our negotiation skills, piloting, resilience, stealth, skullduggery, and then your combat skills. Then we have Mon Calamari. It's a trap! I think that's the executor, isn't it? Looks like it. A huge wedge. It's a terrifyingly huge thing. Then we got your talents, which we saw in our talent trees. Got our full list of talents here, once again, if you need to look them up. And a restatement of all that they do. So when you write them on your character sheet, if you're playing face-to-face, you've got a nice reference section here to look up. If you need a reminder what things do. Of course, if you're using RPG sessions and digital sheet, then you just type in what your talent does, and you need never forget. It'll be there every time you load up your sheet. But yeah, it is nice to have that as a reference. So we got your gear and equipment. Very cool picture here. And then they talk about the galactic economy, imperial credits, ordnance and supply command, and how you use corporations in the alliance to restore the republic, weapon rarity and the black market, selling and trading mechanics, encumbrance, use of combat skills, and item qualities. So again, we have auto fire, blast, breach, burn, concussive, cortosis, cumbersome, defensive, deflection, disorient, ensnare, guided, knockdown, inaccurate, inferior, ion, limited ammo, linked, pierce, prepare, slow firing, stun, stun damage, sunder, superior, tractor, and vicious, all exactly the same as Edge of the Empire. And then we have the weapon characteristics, and I believe these are all pretty much the same as in Edge of the Empire as far as the basic ranged weapons go. Weapon maintenance, how that works. We've got the different types of blasters, including heavy repeaters, light repeaters, blaster carbines, disruptor pistols, which are big problems, slug thrower rifles, flame projectors, missile tubes. For heavy weapons, explosions and ordnance, you got your flame projector, the missile tube, bazooka, frag grenades, armor-piercing grenades, stun grenades, anti-vehicle mines, which you see over here, and the classic thermal detonator. Then we've got your melee weapons, so brass knuckles, shock gloves, combat knives, force pikes, lightsabers, truncheons, vibroaxes, vibro swords, and vibro knives. Got a few different types of armor, all the way up to personal deflector shields and padded armor. The highest rarity is the personal deflector. Armor types and their descriptions, and some pictures as well of heavy battle armor and laminate armor. Then we got gear. This is your basic stuff: drugs, poisons, comms equipment, cybernetic enhancements, scanning and surveillance stuff, medical equipment, infiltration and espionage equipment, tools and electronics, fusion cutters, military field manuals, emergency repair stuff for droids, and then explanations of all these things. Macro binoculars, your medical kit, survival gear. So you'll be using a lot of this stuff as well in Edge of the Empire, but here, given that you're part of an established alliance, you'll be able to draw on their equipment base more easily. Weapon mods, got marksman barrels and all that stuff, all explained here with their in-game effects, how many hard points they take up, etc. You know, same stuff as before, but with lovely artwork from the Rebellion. And that introduces us to conflict and combat. Again, nothing new here to really worry about, just cool new artwork, which brings home the Rebellion era theme, and all our range attacks and actions, maneuvers, the range bands, spending, advantage, and triumph, and threat and despair in combat. It's all basically the same. Defense, soak, and range bands all work the same. Situational combat modifiers work the same. Silhouettes, environmental effects, wounds, strain, and states of health. Lovely critical injury table, which again is the same as before. 151 plus being dead. Complete obliterated death. And then recovery and healing. Back to tanks and medical kits and medicine checks. Or emergency repair patches if you're a droid. Then we get into starships and vehicles. Again, the mechanical stuff is the same here, which I'm going to skip through, but allow you to see the artwork. Look at the lovely X-Wing cutting through the center of the page. Really lovely space battle artwork. We got a B-Wings here. But all the maneuvers and stuff like that, and damage control, speed advantage, and the different types of additional actions you could take in a starship or vehicle are all maintained. And we have our planetary scale range bands for large-scale space combat, stellar phenomena and terrain affecting things, how you take damage via hull trauma, sim strain, and critical hits, And we have our critical hit results for vehicles, the components for small ships or vehicles and large ships or vehicles when you have a component hit. And interstellar travel, hyperspace, astrogation, all that stuff is back. But where we get new stuff is the actual vehicle profiles. So we have this Storm 4 Cloud Car, which we saw on Bespin in the original trilogy. The Alliance T-47 Airspeeder, which we saw on the Battle of Hoth. I mean, these are really iconic vehicles. 74Z Speeder Bike. Then we got our walkers. This time we got AT-ATs, the all-terrain armored transports. They're big boys with a lot of hit threshold at 40. And the all-terrain scout transport, so they're the two-legged guys down here. And we have how the Imperials deploy walkers. Great new iconic starfighters as well. The A-Wing Light Interceptor, very fast, very maneuverable. Not much in the way of weapons, but they are super fast. We have the X-Wing. They're really flexible and capable. They have deflector shields to the front and rear. Notice the A-Wing only has deflectors to the front. And they have higher armor as well. Linked medium laser cannons. And they also have proton torpedoes, but they have limited ammo. And again, you can't just refill your weapons magically in space. You have to go back to a base or carrier to refill them. And we got the Y-Wing, an oldie but a goodie and very flexible. The BTL S3 is the type listed here, as well as the A4. The S3 is cool because you can have a pilot and a gunner. The A/SF-01B Wing is the heavy fast attack starfighter. These are really cool. Dedicated attack fighters and designed to destroy capital ships and orbital installations. 2 shields up front and 1 to the aft. They've got decent armor at 3, hit threshold of 15. They only hold 1 pilot though. Hardpoint mounted light ion cannons and hardpoint mounted heavy laser cannons. Proton torpedo launchers, cockpit hardpoint mounted auto blasters as well. The TIE starfighters, so this is the basic TIE, which has no shields, low armor, but they are quite quick. Forward mounted medium laser cannons. TIE Interceptor, they're pretty powerful and scary. They have the curved wings here. Additional speed compared to the regular starfighters, 6 versus 5. Do not have shields still, but they do have a system strain threshold of 10 instead of 8. They also have wingtip mounted medium laser cannons with linked 3, critical 3. We've got the TIE D Defender multi-role starfighter. These are real jerks. These originated in the TIE Fighter video game, as far as I recall, which was an amazing game. Still available on GOG.com, by the way. They are like X-Wings for the Imperials. They take many roles in combat. They have good handling, a little bit lower speed than the other TIEs, but they've got shields, they've got higher hull ratings and system strain, linked 3 medium laser cannons, twin light ion cannons, cockpit mounted concussion missile launchers as well. So they've got much more ordnance to fire, and they are significantly tougher than their compadres. And likewise, we have the TIE SA tactical bombers, or TIE bombers. These are again lower in speed, no shields this time, but they do have forward mounted laser cannons, linked 1, forward mounted launchers with concussion missiles, proton torpedoes. They also have ventral mounted proton bomb release chutes for surface targets. Then we got the Lambda class shuttle, always a classic for the Imperials. They have a higher silhouette of 4 and a low speed of 3, but they got 2 fore shields, 1 aft shield, hit threshold of 25, so they're bigger, system strain of 15. They've got 2 forward mounted twin light blaster cannons, 2 forward mounted twin light laser cannons, and aft retractable twin light blaster cannons. So not a lot of firepower, but they've got good coverage. The Sentinel class landing craft, pretty similar, but the handling is bad. They have better aft shields, however, and better armor at 5. Forward mounted light blaster cannons, forward mounted twin light laser cannons, and aft retractable twin light blaster cannons. So again, good coverage, but the maneuvering is definitely an issue. And we got your gunships, the Vigil class corvette. These are the smallest vessel in the Star Destroyer class, so they're kind of like baby Star Destroyers. Still pretty hefty though, silhouette 5, speed 3, -1 handling. They've got now shields on 4 sides because they're silhouette 5 or above, capital ships. Got 2221 shields, 55 hit threshold, and 35 system strain, and 5 armor. 3 dorsal mounted twin light turbo lasers, 3 dorsal twin heavy laser cannons, and forward mounted medium tractor beams. We've got the CR-90 Corvette, which is a versatile light ship used by the Rebellion. It's got a 5 silhouette, shields 2112, so a little bit worse than the Vigil class. 1 dorsal and 1 ventral turret mounted twin medium turbo laser battery, 2 port and 2 starboard turret mounted light turbo lasers. So not too bad on the firepower front. Then we got the YV-929 armed transport, silhouette 4. Handling is not so great, but they do have shield protection, and they've got 2 triple light blaster cannons, to the front. They've got turret-mounted twin light ion cannons and 2 forward and 1 rear-mounted concussion missile launchers. So decent coverage of weapons to the different sides. Then we've got our cruisers. The Consular Light Assault Cruiser, outdated gunship pressed back into combat duty by the cash-strapped Rebel Alliance. They have the unique ability to have modular passenger pods. You can have luxurious salon pods, command pods, which gives a fleet commander operating from within a command pod gets a boost to any checks made to command his ships or troops. And you have boarding pods, which are heavily reinforced, built to smash through a ship's armor and hull using shaped explosive charges and plasma cutters, whereupon the troops carried within may take the enemy ship. -2 handling though, 2 111 on the shield front, 5 armor, 46 hits, and 24 strain. Forward turret-mounted twin heavy ion cannons, 1 port dorsal and 1 port ventral twin light turbolaser, 1 starboard dorsal and 1 starboard ventral twin light turbolaser as well. In comparison, we have the Galactic class armed transport. The Rebel Alliance has refurbished some of these aging vessels to bring them up to a level of competency for modern combat though. Silhouette 5, speed 2, handling -3. They've got good shields, 2-2-2-1, decent hit capacity at 50 and 36 strain, 1 dorsal, 1 ventral retractable turret-mounted quad laser cannon, 2 port and 2 starboard retractable twin heavy laser cannons, and forward-mounted proton torpedo launchers. So, they could be better, but for the price, the Rebel Alliance can't turn away. Got the Lancer-class frigate, decent handling but low speed, 2 111 on the shield front, 52 hits, which is pretty robust, and 34 strain, 4 dorsal, 4 ventral, 4 port, 4 starboard, and 4 forward turret-mounted quad laser cannon. So link 3. And our first Silhouette 6 vessel is the Nebulon B frigate here. We've got speed 3, -1 handling, 2s all the way around on the shields, 71 hit threshold, 40 strain, and 6 armor, which is pretty good. They can hold 24 starfighters as well, and they've got 6 port and 6 starboard retractable turret-mounted medium turbo lasers, 3 starboard, 3 port, 3 forward, and 3 aft retractable turret-mounted light laser cannons, and 3 forward-mounted heavy tractor beam emitters. Very cool. We've got the Dreadnought heavy cruisers. They've got a Silhouette 7. They've got only 1 shield all the way around, but 7 armor, so that's something. 100 hit capacity and 40 strain. That's pretty decent. They can hold 12 starfighters and 3,000 troops, which is handy. They've got 5 forward and 5 aft medium Dreadnought turbo laser batteries. Slow firing though. 10 port and 10 starboard light Dreadnought quad turbo lasers. That's quite a lot of turbo lasers. And then 5 more port and 5 more starboard heavy laser cannons. So pretty much bristling with weapons. It also has the massive quality. So when making an attack targeting this starship, the critical rating of any weapons used counts as 1 higher. We've got the Vindicator class heavy cruiser. So they were designed to take the place of the Dreadnought class in the Imperial Navy. Silhouette 7, speed 3, handling -1, 3 shields up front, 2 everywhere else, 6 armor, 85 hits, 55 strain. They hold 400 troops, 24 starfighters, and they've got 5 dorsal, 5 port, 5 starboard medium turbo lasers, 5 port and 5 starboard quad light turbo lasers, 6 forward, 8 port, 8 starboard, and 8 aft point defense laser cannons, 1 forward, 1 port, and 1 starboard heavy tractor beam emitters. It also has massive 1. We've got the Interdictor class heavy cruiser. So they've got the gravity well projectors to suck ships out of hyperspace. So it's a Silhouette 7, pretty big, speed 2, handling -2, a lot of shields, 3, 3, 3, and 2, 5 armor, 75 hits, and 65 strain. A lot of strain. It can hold 24 starfighters and 80 troops. It has 5 dorsal, 5 ventral, 4 port, 4 starboard, and 2 aft turret-mounted quad laser cannons. It's got massive 1, and then there's the sidebar here about the gravity well projectors. So basically, it's a little bit left to Game Master's discretion. Generally, the characters should be just surprised and pulled out of hyperspace by the Interdictor. If the GM wishes, he may give them a chance to evade it, but only if they have some kind of really good reason, like they got advanced intelligence of it being there or something. Then we got our battleships. Imperial 1 class Star Destroyer. These are the classic death triangles. Silhouette of 8, speed of 2, handling of -3, 3, 3, 3, and 2 on the shields, 10 armor, 145 hits, and 60 strain. They can carry 72 starfighters, numerous shuttles, landing craft, utility vehicles, landing barges, and AT series walkers, and 9,700 troops. Plus they've got 10 port, 10 starboard heavy turbo lasers, 10 dorsal heavy turbo laser batteries, 10 port, 10 starboard, and 10 forward light turbo laser batteries, 10 port and 10 starboard battleship ion cannon turrets, 10 ventral battleship ion cannon batteries, 15 port and 15 starboard medium ion cannons, and 10 heavy tractor beam emitters, and it's got massive 2. So you have to add 2 to the critical rating of any weapon that are used against this thing. Praetor 2 class Star Battle Cruiser. So one of the largest classes of ships commissioned by the Imperial Navy. It's got a silhouette of 9, 3s all over for shields, speed of 2, handling -3, armor of 11, 185 hits, and 95 strain. It has a ship's complement of 109,000 officers, pilots, and enlisted crew, 120 starfighters, plus your numerous shuttles, landing craft, utility vehicles, landing barges, and walkers. Can carry 14,000 troops, 30 port and 30 starboard turret-mounted heavy quad turbo laser batteries, 20 dorsal and 20 ventral turret-mounted twin medium turbo laser batteries, 10 forward twin long-range battleship ion cannon batteries, 15 port and 15 starboard turret-mounted twin battleship ion cannons, and 10 hull-mounted heavy tractor beam emitters, and massive 3. Oh god. Then we have the Victory class destroyer. So this is not as good as the Imperial class Star Destroyer, but it's still got silhouette 8, speed of 1, which is worse, 2 shields all around, 9 armor, 120 hits, and 50 strain, 24 starfighters, numerous vehicles, and 1,600 troops, 5 port and 5 starboard light quad turbo lasers, 10 forward mounted twin medium turbo lasers, 10 dorsal twin medium turbo lasers, 20 assault concussion missile launchers, 10 hull mounted heavy tractor beams, and massive 1. They've got the MC-80 Liberty type Star Cruiser, so this is the Rebel counterpart to the Star Destroyers. They're long, sleek, and decidedly bulbous, according to the book, with a silhouette of 8, speed of 2, and handling of -2. They've got good shields, 3, 4, 4, 3. Armor of 10, hits 140, and 80 strain. Holds 36 starfighters, numerous other craft, and 1,200 troops. 12 forward, 12 port, 12 starboard, and 12 aft twin heavy turbo laser batteries. 5 forward, 5 port, 5 starboard, and 5 aft twin battleship ion cannon batteries. 6 hull-mounted heavy tractor beams, and massive 2. So these are a lot of iconic starships that were not in Edge of the Empire. So if you want to get those classic vehicles into your Star Wars game, then you need this book. And remember, you can't buy PDFs of this stuff, so you really actually have to get the books. Then we got some modifications, which we've seen before: hyperdrive generators, weapons, reinforced shields, etc. Then we get into the Force. We see Luke branching his lightsaber looking cool, and the Emperor looking disgusting. And we have the Force-sensitive Emergent, the Force talents highlighted with a little explodey thing. So you need to have a Force rating to be able to use these. So they give you insight, perception, and discipline become career skills. Uncanny senses, add a boost per rank of uncanny senses to all perception checks. Indistinguishable and grit, we've seen. Uncanny reactions, add a boost per rank of uncanny reactions to all vigilance checks. We get toughened, sleight of mind, add a boost to all stealth checks unless the opposition is immune to Force powers. We get a couple of those. We get indistinguishable again, uncanny reactions again, uncanny senses again, toughened again, sense danger. Once per session, remove 2 setback from any one check. Touch of fate is the reverse of that. Once per session, add 2 boost to any check. Balance, when the character recovers strain at the end of the encounter, you may add 1 force die per force rating and recover additional strain equal to the light side points generated. Invigorate, once per encounter, you can add a force dice to a check using brawn or agility made by an ally in short range. White pips add successes and black pips add threat. Force of Will, once per session, you can make 1 skill check using willpower rather than the characteristic linked to that skill. Down at the bottom, you gain +1 to your force rating, which is awesome, and you get a dedication as well. So it's a nice character talent tree, but force powers do require a large commitment of XP. In this book, we have the move power, which we've seen before. That's a classic for any force sensitive to use to move things around. But then we've got Enhanced. This is a new one. So when making an athletics check, you can roll an Enhanced Power check as part of the pool. You can spend white pips to gain successes or advantage. Use your choice on the check. And then you have lots of control upgrades that let you add these enhancements to other actions. So here you can use it with Coordination, Resilience. This one gives you a Force Leap, make an Enhanced Power check, and spend pips to jump horizontally to any location in short range. Vertical Leap, as well as a Horizontal Leap with Force Leap. This one gives you Enhancing Brawls, Enhancing Piloting Planetary, Enhancing Piloting Space. Ongoing effect, commit a force die, and the user increases his brawn characteristic by 1. You can use Force Leap as a maneuver instead of an action, and here you can increase your agility by 1 as an ongoing effect. So Enhance is really, really good. Gives you a huge amount of flexibility as a Force user. And then we got Force C, which is also great. So you can spend a pip to gain vacance of events to come up to a day into the future. With the control upgrade, you can roll a Force C power check as part of your pool to determine initiative and spend white pips to gain a success per point on the check. Another control upgrade gives the affected targets increased range and melee defense by 2 for the first round of combat. Spend a white pip to increase the power's range. And then the final control upgrade here, when performing a Force C check as part of an initiative check, the Force user may spend a pip to allow all affected targets to take 1 free maneuver before the first round of combat begins. How cool is that? Here we have Vader on the Game Master's side. Watch out for him. Nice little bit on dice rolling, etiquette, and protocol. Building your characters, preparing for the first session, all pretty standard advice. Dealing with absent players. I really do like these Game Master sections in these rule books for FFG. They really give you the fundamentals of game mastering, like what to do if somebody isn't showing up, how to deal with house rules or off-topic distractions in the game, getting players back on task. I mean, it really assumes very little of your knowledge until, I guess, the recent 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide for D&D. I mean, D&D kind of assumed that you already knew how to Dungeon Master, and their Dungeon Master Guide was terrible in 5e, much, much better in 4e and 3e even. 5e, just useless. But these are really good, comprehensive tips on how to run a game, how to read the dice, when to use things like fear, how to deal with character death, giving your NPC characters a voice, make them distinctive, things to do between sessions, what your players should be responsible for, how to make them feel like they're part of the rebellion. That's a key part of this game. They need to feel that they're part of something bigger. Other things happening in the rebellion might benefit you, or a failure somewhere else down the chain might make things more difficult. Make them feel that what's going on in the galaxy is connected to what they do, and allow their actions to affect the overall rebellion in small but important ways. Gives you good advice about dealing with player characters and superior officers, taking orders or giving orders, and the problems of war, the things that causes for individuals, and the wearing down and attrition of their devices, their ships, their weapons. Fighting for a long time is exhausting mentally and physically, and it wears down all your gear, and you've got to keep that stuff repaired. So, it's important to keep that in mind. Gives you ideas for missions to do for the rebellion, ambushes, setting up bases, hit and run missions, sabotage, recon, espionage, rescuing people, full assault missions, so these are probably going to be more rare, a lot of combat. Some great tips here on using duty, using the duty check to set the tone for the session, and using the contribution rank, making sure that you get your characters the appropriate awards from the Alliance, using their motivations, incorporating them into the story, creating useful encounters and campaigns for Age of Rebellion. There are published adventures that are pretty good for Age of Rebellion, but I mean, there's so much that you could play with. Just, create a planet and give it sort of gripe with the local Imperials on some basis and have the players start agitating. Have one of them be a new recruit who's trying to get a rise out of his compatriots and get things started. I mean, there's a story for you right there. There's plenty more you can come up with. And here's a nice tables you can roll on to establish personality traits for people, for your NPCs, tell you how to create nice villains and recurring characters in your chronicles as they go on, controlling encounter difficulties. So balancing is something that people often worry about. I personally don't worry about it too much because, if the players are like, oh shit, we're getting crushed, they're going to run away. The ideal is that they'll, value their character's life as their own and run away to fight another day. If the encounter is too easy, then the characters get to feel cool. So what's wrong with that? Maybe it means I have to wing it a bit for the rest of the session, but it doesn't matter. That's what GMing is all about. And they give you tips on pacing, dramatic action, having variety of encounters. It's very important. Directing the session, how to move between scenes, dealing with different types of campaign structures, which we've all seen before, using major villains like Vader or stuff like that, if you want to do that, how to go about it. Destiny point use as a narrative aid, and then compatibility with the Age of the Empire. This is an interesting one. So the biggest difference as they see it is the differing motivations of obligation and duty. So you can go obligation only, duty only, or have them both sort of functioning together. I like to do both because the life experience and the problems faced by Han Solo are different from those faced by Princess Leia, and that should be reflected in the mechanics. And having both obligation and duty in play makes that worthwhile, I think. The other thing you could do is to do either one or the other, create a chart for each and pick one each session, and different things will crop up. Then you've got the background on the galaxy. A lot of this is the same. We've got the same map, info on the deep core, notable locations, got the colonies, got the inner rim, the expansion region, the mid rim, the outer rim territories and outer reaches, notable locations, wild space. Then we've got Rebel territory, so this is important and new stuff for the game. So, as Rebellion expands, there's going to be more attention being drawn to that as Rebel attacks start to be noticed. There will be safe worlds as well that are Rel protected and not yet known by the Empire. So Yavin was one of those for a time, as was Endor. You might also be holding Imperial prisoners of war, which is something to keep in mind. That could be an interesting sort of moral quandary for your characters to deal with. They talk about New Alderaan. When Alderaan was destroyed, the Rebel Alliance set up a new safe planet for the off-world survivors. And there's T-Star 2, the code name for a new Alliance safe world located in the small section of wild space, life and perils in Imperial space. So this is great, giving you a feel for what it's like to live under the yoke of the Empire, their take on law and order, which is extreme. Imperial security zones. Imperial shipyards will often have security zones around them because Imperial warships are vulnerable when they're in for repairs and resupply. Priority sectors and over sectors. Priority sectors encompass many areas or sectors with active rebel threats. This is something that they learned in their fight with with the rebels is that dividing things up into sectors didn't really work because the rebels were breaking those boundaries and striking different places. And we've got new notable locations as well for the rebellion. So Bothan Space, which is an allied region in the mid-rim with about 150 inhabited systems, mainly they're Bothan colonies. We've got the corporate sector, who are a bit ruthless, and basically their common goal with the rebellion is to exploit the freedoms not given to them by the imperial rule. Herglic Space, they established their own empire well before the rise of the Old Republic, but it failed long ago. The Hutt Space, among the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, are nominally imperial subjects, but they largely govern their own affairs. So this is where we saw in Edge of the Empire. We've got Mandalorian Space. So the Mandos on their homeworld of Mandalore have expanded and shrunk in line with its fortunes. We have shadow ports. So these are hidden remote or mobile locations where people can smuggle stuff. The main shadow ports are Nar Shaddaa and Quen Space Station in Hutt Space, Tatooine Terminus, Bespin, and Socorro, a few of the better-known ports in the Outer Rim. We've got the Slice, the vast wedge-shaped region of the galaxy between the Perlemian trade route and the Corellian Run. Largely a geographical destination, not a political division, and nobody really controls it. So it was the heart of galactic exploration and development for millennia, and a lot of it has been explored. And there's a large network of hyperroutes tying the area together. Then we've got key planets. Look at poor Alderaan. It's just a cloud of dust. So now it's just a graveyard. The blasted remains are unpredictable. It's a huge, dense asteroid field now. There's tales of ghost ships, surviving structures, or lost treasures. Then we got beasts in the Beshkek system, deep core security zone in the deep core region. The Emperor's personal, private, and secret retreat. One of his darkest secrets. We have Chandrila, the home planet of Mon Mothma, lightly populated core world with a thriving agrarian society. We've got Mon Calamari, homeworld, Dak. It's an ocean-covered world, relative newcomer to the Republic, and they're remote out in the Outer Rim, away from traditional major hyperroutes, so they weren't often encountered by the Old Republic. They're fighting for the freedom of their people under the yoke of the Imperium. We got the Ice World of Hoth, of course. Icy, frozen, located in the Outer Rim, and brutal weather conditions at the best of times. So remote and isolated that doesn't appear on many star charts, and it's covered mostly by massive ice sheets, but there is life here. Huge, powerful bipedal creatures called Wampas hunt virtually every other living thing, which we saw in the second film. Then we got the Imperial Center of Coruscant, of course, population of 1 trillion, and they have a huge underworld. Of course, the ISB, the Imperial Security Bureau, is based here as well. We've got Solist, the homeworld of the Solistans, of course. And it's a volcanic world in the Outer Rim in Brima sector, and the Sorosub Corporation is an industrial powerhouse and one of the galaxy's preeminent interstellar corporations. However, they basically sold the world to the Empire. Now we've got Yavin 4, again in the Outer Rim in the Yavin system in the Gordian Reach. It was best known for housing the Rebels' secret base, and not coincidentally is the location of the Rebels' first major victory with the destruction of the Death Star. Strong connection between the Force and Yavin 4, particularly the dark side. After the Rebels abandon the base, the Empire installs an outpost to analyze the Death Star and base remains, and they could get hints about the dark side that might teach them something new. And we have a chapter about the rebellion itself, which is very cool. The history of the rebellion, including the dark times, Organa's loyalist facade, and how that developed into secret meetings and a growing resistance. Corellian Treaty, and very risky meetings between Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Garmbel Iblis, Declaration of Rebellion, and then the slow start of the world seceding from the Imperium and declaring their association with the Rebel Alliance. But now there was an actual Rebel Alliance of sorts. And the Battle of Yavin, of course, was the major first victory of the rebellion. And now they've got a Rebel Alliance that has their own civil government, which is mirroring the functions of a typical government. They have a Chief of State and Advisory Council, Cabinet, Education Ministry, Finance Ministry, Ministry of Industry, Ministry of State, Ministry of Supply, Ministry of War. The military has the Alliance High Command, Fleet Command, Intelligence, Ordnance and Supply, Sector Command, Special Forces Command, Starfighter Command, and Support Services. And then we've got the Alliance Fleet, which is organized into elements, sections, then squadrons, battle groups, which have 2 to 4 squadrons, and fleets have 3 to 6 battle groups. Kind of moving from a single starship up to a fleet. Now they are compose one another. Sector forces, so they have the different units used by ground forces, special forces regiments, including Marines, urban guerrillas, wilderness fighters, infiltrators, have weapon specialists, their spec force organization, so special forces, starfighter commands, and how starfighter wings are organized. You got the Alliance Intelligence and their support services, rebel agents and their operatives. different types of rebel bases. So we've got recon field bases. Caches are simply hidden supply storage locations. Basic meeting locations. Safe houses are bolt holes and hideouts for rebel agents who are in danger. Medical stations will help treat the injured. Outposts are scattered throughout the galaxy and customized to fit the need of specific missions, and ranging in size from 25 to 500 people. Starfighter outposts are designed to support solely one or more squadrons of starfighters and keep them out in the battlefield fighting stuff. Got local operations bases, planetary bases, which are much larger and have better personnel and defenses. Sector Force headquarters are at the smallest equivalent to a local starfighter base, but the biggest are much larger and often more complex versions of a planetary ops base. Got Allied Command headquarters, so it'll have planetary defense systems, powerful local or planetary shields, and small fleets of capital ships. And the main Rebel Alliance base is among the best defended in the galaxy, with Spec Force units guarding it. Best starfighter pilots are housed there, and the location of it is a closely guarded secret. Common environments for bases include abandoned structures left behind by previous civilizations or the Empire itself, Arctic environments, asteroids, hidden away in canyons, caverns, deserts, jungles, mountainous terrain, or in deep oceans. And they give a nice example of the main Rebel base on Yavin 4, which was tucked away into this old pyramid and dug deep inside. And they give you a cross section there. Could house 4 starfighter squadrons, typically X-Wings and Y-Wings, as well as transports to quickly move personnel off-world, and had a power station in a separate structure about a kilometer away, which used to belong to a Star Destroyer. Very cool. Watercrest Secret Outpost is another example here with a lovely map. You can see it's relatively smaller, but it could certainly house a few fighters on these landing pads and a Falcon-sized transport there. Hangar domes, landing fields, guest rooms, command center or main generator, some defenses, including some retractable laser cannons and concussion missile launchers, escape equipment like starships and speeders, and a medical suite. So that's a nice example of a smaller base. They talk about rebel battles and tactics, how they fight, the way things were done at the Battle of Yavin, which we can see here. How rebels work in a network of cells, using commando raids, targeted raids on specific assets, fleet detachment raids, and trying to avoid big fleet engagements. Just hit and fade attacks is the basic and most common type. So they just do a lot of damage in as little time as possible and then run away, because the Imperials have numerical superiority. Then we got sabotage, which is very common and useful to reduce and degrade the capability of the Empire to fight. Special ops missions, which run the gamut of, sabotage, gathering intelligence, investigating Jedi artifacts, all kinds of stuff. In general, spying operations are really important to know what the Empire is up to, if they got big plans or big strikes in mind, so you can be prepared, and also to know what they know about the rebellion and its bases and locations. Starfighter strikes, of course, are also really effective. They're highly useful for hit and fade attacks, and they tend to be well planned in advance. And one or more squadrons will pop out from a base or a carrier starship, or they may rendezvous at a certain location ahead of time. They will try to mix up different types of squadrons so that they have coverage for different roles might be needed to cause maximum damage. Then we got our adversaries. We've got minions, rivals, and nemesis. Of course, we know those from Edge of the Empire. We have our Rebel Alliance troops that we may need to use in battles and so forth. So we start off with a typical Alliance infantry minion. We've got the Bothan spy, rival, diplomat rival, Alliance commander, who would be a nemesis level as a full character, Incom engineer, a mechanical minion, quartermasters, rebel cell leaders, rebel spec force infiltrators, starfighter aces, starfighter pilots. Then we got the Galactic Empire bureaucrats. We've got boss agents, Compnor agents. They're basically propaganda people. We've got Imperial advisors at Nemesis level, Imperial destab agents. So they're about destabilization of the Rebel Alliance and of resistance movements in general. Imperial Moths, they are assigned to oversee an entire sector of space in the Emperor's name. And they tend to be extremely loyal and big on leadership front. We've got the military assets of the Empire, the Imperial Army Troopers, Gunnery Corps, Army Officers, Navy Troopers, Vehicle Corps, intelligence agents, military informants, naval engineers, stormtrooper minions, stormtrooper sergeants, dark troopers, clandestine attempt to create an even more fearsome elite fighting force. The goal of the project was to create extremely advanced military droids that could pass for armored humans. So yeah, they're tough. We've got stormtrooper sand troopers, stormtrooper scout troopers, snow troopers, TIE pilots, and TIE aces. Then we've got galactic underworld types, black marketeers, gilded bounty hunters, who are more serious expert forgers, hired thugs, which may be useful, hut crime lords, which could be useful, but you tend to owe them something no matter what you do, info chants, so these are information merchants basically, pirate crews might be useful to the rebel cause, as well as pirate captains, shadow port mechanics, so they work at the shadow ports that are needed for smuggling things, and we've got smugglers as NPCs as well, and slicers if you need to hire one for an op. You got droids as well, assassin droids with an example build, which is nice if you want to be one yourself. Astromech droid, sample build, maintenance droid, medical droid, protocol droid. We've got some typical core world denizens from corporate reps to physicians, politicians and senators, wealthy nobles, spaceport overseers. Then we got our galactic oddities, cyborg admin people, like that guy. We've got Dianagas, they live in the trash compactor. Gundarks, we've got a Jedi in hiding. We've got Obi-Wan, and a Nerf herder, again. Perlemian Hall, which is the introductory adventure for Age of Rebellion. So you can see they've got interior maps of star fighters. You got some stuff happening at different levels of conflict here. Shipboard hazards, shuttles, and then your index for this very large book. And then your Age of Rebellion character sheet, which looks very much like Edge of the Empire, but with more red. Cool color scheme to go with the theme of the book. And we have the additional page with the same features. And then we've got the ship sheet, which works for both starfighters and capital ships, because you can have 2 or 4 shields. And we've got your base of operations sheet, which you can use to track your group's progress, motivations, their duty, their group resources and possessions, and their contacts, and your destiny pool. And there you go. That is Age of the Rebellion for Star Wars FFG. Again, I think this game is cruelly underlooked and really deserves more of your attention. It's got great specializations in it and careers. It's got different force powers and tons of useful playable content if you're into the classic vehicles and atmosphere and battles of the Rebellion era. So I consider it vital to my collection for FFG. There's a lot of good supplements for this line as well for all the different careers that add more stuff, more force powers, more vehicles, more specialization trees, more everything. So do give this underlooked line some time, really, and especially in the wake of the excellence of Andor Season 1 and 2, I think more people will hopefully start to think about the Rebellion era as a great time to tell stories, because it is. It really is. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed this. This turned out longer than I expected, because there are a lot of differences between the different books, and I love talking about Star Wars. But yeah, I hope you found that useful. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comments. On your way out, please hit like and subscribe and little bell thing to help me stay motivated and keep the channel growing. And if you like what I do, feel free to use the Ko-fi link in the description below to send a donation my way and help me recover some of the costs of my enormous RPG collection. In the meantime, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about Star Wars FFG and Funky Dice and Star Wars in general, whatever else you want in the comments below. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.